Hello, everyone, and welcome to the episode 76 of the Office Hours podcast. Hey, Mo, what's new and exciting?
Um, this question again. You get me every
I
time with
gotta,
this
I gotta
question.
ask it.
Um, I've been good, actually. I think um, I had a dinner a while ago with one of my managers, and it was a very eye-opening dinner.
Interesting.
One of those conversations that you have, and it's not even about work. We weren't even talking about work. We're just talking about life generally. And you just get to learn a lot about yourself. Those weird, unplanned conversations. Anyway, so like I've been ruminating on it for a while now, just evaluating certain aspects of my life and certain aspects of my ambitions as well,
Hmm,
and how reevaluating how I'm going about it, and like especially like career wise and stuff like this. Because we were talking about how like You know, you know me personally, like, and how like sometimes I like to go and like just to like have all this race with myself, and I was sharing some of that with him, and then he went like, "Oh yeah, you know what? You should just enjoy life. Do you enjoy life?" And then I thought about that question. I was like, "What do you mean enjoy life?" And then I thought about it. You know what? In the moment, I was looking at him like, you don't get it. Like, I have to do all these things, and all these things are really important, and you have to figure this thing out, and just and just do. I was thinking he was going to be really proud of me, like, yeah, keep going. And then it was like, you should enjoy life. I did not even expect that. So, to be honest, I would say I've been enjoying life since that conversation. I've been like trying to get outside, to do more stuff. Um, After that, I went to a comedy show. I haven't been to a show in a long time.
hmm.
I played more football. I mean, did things that I actually would consider as
Enjoying life.
enjoying life.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's
Yeah,
that's very nice.
like
Very cool.
stuff like this.
Yeah, if it works, then that's great. Because I think a lot of people, by the time you're like established and financially secure, you can give advice like enjoy life.
You know what? Yeah.
I think if at some points in my life, if somebody would tell me, "Oh, just enjoy life," I'd be like, "What are you talking about? Like, I cannot, not yet, not yet anyway, right?" I think that you sort of switch from. I guess for some people that they don't have an off switch, they always stay like this Type A personality, which is just like go 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 go. And if you can derive enjoyment of life out of that, then that works, right? It's I guess like the question is like, were you miserable doing what you were doing or not?
So I struggled, after that conversation, the next day I was just like ruminating over it, like just thinking about it. And then I was thinking, like, what does enjoying life even mean? I feel like for this is like the definition is different for everybody. For me, I find more enjoyment doing whatever I'm doing by myself. Like, I could be in my office just like
Yeah.
spending the entire time, and I'm happy here. I'm just like enjoying myself here, like whatever. Even if it's not something serious, I'm just happy to be here. Like, get dressed and come here and just like be happy. And um But also, I know that you have to, I realize that you have to do other things because sometimes you have like a change of um, thought, just a little bit of like breaks in your like, yeah, process, help you to think better. Maybe if you feel like you need to work more so you don't go to the gym because like, oh yeah, you're going to lose 3 hours of work because you cannot afford to go to the gym. You rather just work, or like, those kind of compromises that you make to
Hmm.
be able to like get more time to do work stuff instead of like taking time for yourself.
Yeah, I
Like
think that's like a false compromise almost.
it could be,
You
but
frame it as
this
making a compromise. It's like, oh, I'm not gonna go to the gym because work is more important. But is it really? It's like 3 hours.
exactly
Like
that
those
is it.
3 hours apply to yourself versus those 3 hours apply to the task you're doing. Like, where are you gonna get more ROI, so to speak?
You know what? There's a good argument for this. And I got to the point where I was actually having a good argument for this. If I go to the gym, fine, I will train, I will build maybe strength, maybe muscle, whatever I'm building. But then I come back, it's not just 3 hours because now you have to like heal from the gym because you have to maybe sleep after you come from the gym, or like you do something to replenish the energy you just lost at the gym. So like, and most times you end up sleeping anyway. So like the moment you come back from the gym, the day is done. So, or maybe your body is sore and you cannot really concentrate because like now you're just like in pains after the gym. So yeah, there's usually good argument, but over time, I mean, in the last 2 weeks of this conversation now, what I've been telling myself is that, nothing is ever that urgent. Like sometimes take a break, enjoy the moment, celebrate your wins. I remember one time I was I was at my graduation for undergrad, and everyone was celebrating, everyone had like a party, graduation party. And I remember I wasn't even celebrating. I was thinking, oh, what am I gonna do now? Like, what's the next thing to do? And like, oh yeah, I need to do this course. I need to do that. This is too much. Like, yeah. I
Yeah,
started to
because like,
realize that it's too much.
yeah, like it's really easy in college because your entire life is already kind of pre-planned for you. Here's your class schedule. Here's your test schedule. Like, make sure you eat and sleep a reasonable amount and have at it, right? And like for a bunch of years, you don't really have to
Mhm,
think about any of
mhm.
those things, right? You just
Yeah.
come in and apply yourself, and then you're done. So at graduation, where all of that certainty literally just disappears from under you, it's like that scene in Finding Nemo where all these fish like float to the top, and is like, now
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So basically, you're telling me that you had like this epiphany, and
Yeah.
the course of your life has shifted. There was like an
I,
inflection point.
I don't know if it's like that deep, like in terms of like the shift, but it feels like it because like I feel like I got wiser.
Hmm.
Let's just say I got wiser, like I started to see things a bit differently.
Yeah.
It was telling me a story, and then I also realized that you see, in life, it's not about how much you do that gets you like, I mean, you have to put efforts too, but this is sounding very philosophical. Like, wait, I mean, is this what we're doing?
We're
I feel like
discussing
I'm
the
getting.
meaning of life. Yes. We're gonna figure it out once and for all. You heard it here first, folks.
Oh god, you know what? We're just gonna wrap this up. But anyway, yeah, I was starting to realize that it's not how much you do, but it's at the end of the day, there is chance, there is effort, there is everything, but you have to find the balance anyway.
Mhm.
And enjoy the moment.
Yeah,
Enjoy the
yeah,
moment.
yeah.
Anyway, to wrap that up, because I'm not some life guru or like life coach yet. So like maybe what I'm saying does not even make sense yet. Maybe next year I'm going to have a different epiphany and a different view on life. So we'll put a
It's
pin on that.
possible. It's possible.
We'll
But
put
isn't
a
it
pin.
kind of cool that, you can just have like a one chance conversation
Hmm.
and it has like a measurable impact on your life that you never expected, kind of.
I'm telling you, this is how I feel. Like it wasn't even planned. You understand? Like we were just going there to eat. So he was in my city, and then we were like, oh, we went to try some food from my place, and I was like, okay, let's go. So we went,
Hmm.
and we were just like randomly talking. He was telling me his story, how he started his career and stuff like this. And to me, this was just a very unique story. So I was like, you, there must be something about you. So I started asking him more questions,
Hmm.
and I started learning different things about him and like learning how he sees life. Like, and then I started wondering, like, some people work so hard every day, and yet they don't have this level of achievement. Like, you hear people, especially in our field, like, if you talk to a lot of software developers that are like, you know, type A's, or like, I mean, who would like to feel like they're putting a lot of effort and stuff. Like you hear that they have a lot of this going on, things going on, they're writing this exam, they're doing this, that, that. But most of the time, they end up using all this knowledge for themselves. Not really. It doesn't really translate into much. I mean, from my point of view, there is not, because you're learning all of this to get hired anyway. And like, there is a chance that you probably would not be hired. There's not a there's no space for everybody. So there are some people who gets it, and there are some people who don't. So why don't you spend some of this time to enjoy, maybe build good networks, like have good relationship with people that might actually help you in life, you know?
Yeah, no,
So,
that's absolutely true. I think it's very important.
so yeah, yeah, these are the kind of things I learned. And I argued with myself for a while, for like a day, but I came to realize that I think he's right. If you say, oh, you don't understand, you have to make money, but how much money, how much, anyway, you know what, Vasili, I'm still learning. I'm still digesting it. However, there's something else I wanted to tell you, talk to
Yeah,
you
yeah,
about.
no, for sure.
So there is this book that I started reading. It's called The Manager's Path.
Mm, okay.
You know this book?
Uh, I've been reading a book called Staff Engineer's Path. It's probably
You know what? Yeah, yeah,
similar
yeah, yeah. I
thing. Yeah,
know
yeah.
that. Well, hold on. So I learned some things from this book, and I wanted to share with you because I
Are
mean,
you are you
you.
turning over to the dark side?
Well, no, I don't. Dark side. What is dark side? What is the dark side, though?
Well, you know, in Star Wars, the dark side. Join me on the
Oh,
dark side.
maybe, maybe. I mean,
Well, I
I
mean, like
don't
if
know
you're
if I really
learning a
like
if you're
about
learning a book
management.
called The Manager's Path, does it mean that you
Mm,
intend on like going more into managerial and less of a developer track?
no, I, I mean, maybe at some point, but not right now. I think the reason why I'm reading this book is because it has some knowledge about it helps me to understand the manager's role and also some of the other roles that on the path to this level, like
Hmm.
the goal, you know. So I was learning about, I wanted to ask you a question that I found in the book was have you ever had a good manager? Like,
Oh yeah,
what is a
yeah.
good manager?
That's an interesting question. I had a couple of good managers in my career, two, probably. I would say. I would say two. Yeah. And I haven't really kept in touch, but you know, we're like on LinkedIn, so whenever I see them, both of them are doing exceptionally well. Like they've achieved very high positions. Like I think one of them is basically like VP level now or something like that.
Mm.
So clearly he was doing something right, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and for me, arguably, what made a good manager, it was really selfish if you think about it. Like, I wanted to be given sort of the latitude and freedom to do the things that I consider to be important in the context of the project. So neither of those guys were like ever micromanaging anything that I was doing and other people on my team. So they gave us a really extensive amount of rope, so to speak. Um, and they were very understanding in terms of the deadlines. I think the biggest thing, some of it gets kind of fuzzy. I can't tell exactly who did what or who didn't do what, but the feeling that I'm getting out of it is that they were always like in the juxtaposition between like an engineering team and like the high level stakeholders, they were always without fault on our side. Like on the side of an engineering team, they were shielding us from outside world as much as possible. So people could not like come in directly to us with their asks and like bother us with all these various things. They would be the firewall between our team and the rest of the org, so to speak. So they kept us blissfully ignorant about all the bullshit outside the walls. We never had to concern ourselves with it,
Mm-hmm.
which was really nice because you can really focus on the engineering side of things and just do that. And so, like, if I were to summarize, it's like they're always on the side of the team. In all conflicts, they would sort of advocate for our interests. They would unblock us on anything that we find that was blocking us very quickly. So like interfacing with other teams, some other teams is not being very cooperative, like we need something from somebody. Those guys would be like getting that stuff out of our way. And both of them were very nice on a personal level as people, like very pleasant to converse with. There wasn't any kind of notion of, oh, I'm a manager and you're just a developer and I get to tell you what to do and you just do it and blah, blah, blah. Like, sometimes some managers, they kind of have that chip on their shoulder where they think like,
Mm-hmm.
because they get to
Mm-hmm.
tell you what to do, they somehow like own you or something, right? So there was
Mm-hmm.
very little of that. Because I think that a good manager understands that they're necessary, but ultimately theirs is a support role overall.
Mm.
And
Okay.
so if they kind of abandon the support role and put themselves in like this sort of control and oversight role, eh, I don't know. I guess it really depends on the team. Like if everybody on the team is a professional and know how to do their stuff, and everybody is sort of united in their vision and their direction and the focus, then a manager can kind of allow themselves to just give everybody all that freedom and expect all the responsibility that comes with it, right? But if you have a lot of juniors that don't know what they're doing and everybody needs their hands being held at some time, then I guess they can't really do that, or it's much trickier. So I guess that is kind of my main points. And if I
Mm.
think of something else, I'll try to think of something else, but I think this kind of covers the basics.
Okay. So, I mean, I feel like at the end of the day, the definitions of a good manager will be what you want from a manager. Because I feel like when you describe this, some of these roles kind of sounds to me like it's not necessarily supposed to be like the manager. For example, like interfacing between like teams, I think that could have been the product owner or product manager. or or was it like a
Well,
structure?
at those times, that role basically did not exist.
Yeah.
So that person was doing all of it. So
Do you?
segregating a separate role just for that,
Mm.
I think we talked about it. I think it's like, yeah, product.
Do you have a product owner in your team right now?
I mean, we do, yeah.
What did you
So it's,
consider to be the responsibility of the product owner?
I have no idea, to be honest with you. Like, they supposed to, like, I don't understand why you need two people. Because I think, like, in our organization where I'm currently at, managers, they manage multiple teams kind of directly, so they don't have time for all the projects, and then they have like the product owners taking care of like the product specific things for each project. But in both those cases that I'm referring to, the project manager was just managing our team and the product that we were working on. So there was really no need to have a separate person with distinct tasks and responsibilities. It just was no point.
Mm.
And in fact, in either of those teams, I don't even remember ever having to interact with anybody above our manager directly. Like there was just no point in doing that. They never meddled in our affairs at that level, and we never really needed anything from them at that level either. And when we did need something, our project manager was the interfacing point. So we would just go to that guy, and whichever way he gets to sort it out, it's not our problem anymore. That's his, and he was really good at it. So we like the separation between the layers was way more clear. Whereas currently, it's kind of like thinly smeared all over the place, like who's supposed to be doing what, and like, yeah. So maybe it's a different time now, and that's just not how things work these days. Um, but I can only tell you what has happened and what kind of impressions I have about it. So yeah.
I find that I think I agree that maybe the lines get blurry a bit, like, but maybe right now, I, and the reason why I asked about the role of the product owner was like, I had a conversation about this with someone at work earlier, like I think maybe not too long ago. We were talking about roles. So it was like, you have like dynamic teams, like you have the design team, you have like all these teams that build up a team. So I was wondering if it was supposed to be the job of the PO to actually like gather all be the interface between like the engineering team, which would be the dev, and like the other stakeholders. So like you bring the information from the other stakeholders, probably like the business side or like whatever side, and bring it here.
Well,
So
I'm still surprised you haven't watched The Office Space, because it's exactly the scene. It's like, what is it that you do here? Well, I take the specifications from the customers and bring them to the engineers, so the engineers don't have to. It's like, do you do that yourself? Well, no, my secretary does that for me.
well,
I'm a
I mean,
people's person.
at least this is what I think. So I was wondering, like, this should be the job of the PO. But I find that maybe sometimes some POs or like some product owner might find this to be a lot of work. So now they ask you to go source your own information or like build
Well,
your own
if
relationship.
yeah, if they're finding that it's too much work, then like what the hell? Again, maybe if they have to curate multiple different products at the same time. Because in my understanding, like the way that I see a role of the product owner It's the person who's the most intimately familiar with what the product is, like what it is that we're trying to build here.
Mm-hmm.
That person needs to understand the overall product direction, as in what kind of major milestones we want to have, what sort of features we're going to implement, what's the feedback from the end user of the product, what do they want to be added, how do we prioritize those things that they want added, right? So they need to know all of those things and have the ability to translate those things into technical requirements for the engineering team, right? But here's the weird part. It's like they're supposed to be prioritizing tasks. Like let's say we have like 3 different separate features that we want to implement in this quarter, and this one is the high priority, this is medium priority,
Mm-hmm.
this is low priority. Here's the tasks. And then the project manager needs to come in and actually manage it at a more granular level. But then the project manager then also needs to know the product really well and understand the priority. So like there's so much overlap between these two roles that it's like, well, why do you need 2 people to do this job? Like, can't the person that can task the engineering team and allocate resources and like funnel and focus people on different things not also be the same person that intimately knows what the product is? Unless the product maybe is so grand that, see, I think in both of those cases, if I rewind a little bit, um both those projects or products rather were small enough that it was all sort of one team vertically owns the entire thing. Maybe if you're building something so humongous that there's like 5 different people that actually understand what the overall product is, and then there's like 10 engineering teams trying to implement it, maybe you have to slice it and dice it differently. But even then, you know, I think that there's a lot of overlap in their skill. I think the product owners kind of can get away with not being technical, whereas a good engineering manager, project manager should have at least some technical chops too. Because again, you know, it's the interface. There's there's like three layers in that, and so there's 2 interface points, like one from stakeholders to the manager, and then the other one from the manager to the dev team, right? And he's supposed to be there to bridge the language between the two, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
engineers talk a certain way, and stakeholders talk a certain way, and they could be even using the same words and mean different things. So the job of that person is to do the translation, right? To make sure
Mm-hmm.
that both sides understand each other. But again, like, so what is the PO doing there? Like, he's basically doing all of the duties of the project manager, except he's not being technical and he's not like working at a very high granularity level down to like individual tasks. So the PM does like 90% of, or rather, the PO does like, you see what I mean? There's such a massive overlap in those 2 roles. It's like, why do you
Yeah,
need 2 people here? It doesn't make sense to
yeah.
me.
Personally, I agree, completely agree with you
Yeah.
about this.
I think
And
like
in the
PO can take a little bit of time and upgrade to a technical PM and just do that job, and then you have 2 people doing basically same thing. They can take different projects and work on them, but to try to, it's like now you have 2 people, and if they're not aligned precisely, that means they're going to be dragging it in different directions. So there's going to be like various frictions.
Mhm.
People would see the priorities differently. It's just much easier, at least to me, because I mean I haven't worked at that level, so what do I know? I only look at it like from below and see what's going on up there, right? So maybe I'm completely full of shit. I don't know. But
I see your point of view actually. And
pragmatically,
mhm.
just have one person that has the vision the direction, the focus, the control, the interfacing, and let that person do all that work. And if the project's so big that they can't handle it, that's a smell of in itself, right? Like, why is that project so big? Can parts be extracted out so that the single person can reasonably handle the entire thing?
Mm-hmm. What about the tech lead though? Where does tech lead come in all of this?
I think tech lead, again, from the way that I see it, he's responsible for consistency, technical consistency. Like, see that there's like many different ingredients in this picture, because you could have an architect, you can have a tech lead.
Are you saying the job of the architect is similar to the tech lead?
Well, I mean, architect, like, I think like architect is probably more bird's eye and overall integration. Like, I don't know, I think the architect needs to know way more about external systems that this project is integrating with than the tech lead necessarily, because like the architect has to find how the puzzle piece of that particular project is going to fit with the rest of them, right? Like, I think if I were to formulate it, the job of the architect is to prepare the rest of the system for your piece to be integrated in it. And the job of the tech lead is to prepare the piece to be integrated with the rest of it. And even though they kind of seem like they're the same thing, not really, right? To me, there is a difference to it. And the tech lead would broadly pick technical direction and maintain it and align everybody with that technical direction. Because, like, one of the worst things you can have in a software project is lack of alignment, especially on like core things. I remember bringing this example up where a bunch of years back there was this like open source, open hardware cell phone project where they would build the hardware, they would build the software, and then for like 99% of it, you would have a fully open implementation of a cell phone that is like GSM compatible, that runs like a graphical UI operating system and makes calls and does data and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, I have the hardware prototype somewhere in my drawer, but when it came to software, there was like so many different visions about how that should have been accomplished, and everybody was just pulling the rug towards themselves, and in the end, all of them failed to deliver. And I think that's like a big, grand kind of example. But even internally, like if you have multiple people in their team and one person says, oh, we're going to do everything this way, and the other person says, we're going to do everything that way, and they both start building at the same time, and then, like, there's no internal alignment. Everybody says, no, you have to do it like I do, and the other person says, no, you have to do it like I do. It's just a complete shit show. So the job of a tech lead is to harness all of those energies, align them all in the same direction, and make sure it proceeds smoothly from there.
Hmm. The analogy you just, you know what? I haven't even got into my question yet, but this conversation is so great. I'm learning a lot from it. So, like, the job of a tech lead now involves like the analogy you just gave now, like somebody saying like, oh yeah, you have to do it like I do, or like do it like I do, but the tech lead is going to come there and be like, resolve conflict.
In a sense, yes.
Is the tech lead role supposed to be a permanent role, or it's supposed to be a temporary position?
Well, I think that, I mean, you know how software projects work. There's all these internal initiatives that are never completed to 100%. They're like usually abandoned at like 70% mark. So you're gonna have all these. If you compare it to archaeology, if you start digging through the code base, you're gonna find like all of these layers, all of these cultural layers. You dig through it, it's like, oh, here we were using, this method of cleaning up subscriptions in AngularJS, and like you dig a little bit deeper, it's like, oh, there's a legacy piece of code that's still there that's like doing it a completely different way because we had this initiative to align it all, but we didn't have enough time to finish it all. So there's like remnants of all of these different things. So at no point in time you can say we're like fully locked in. It's like basically as soon as you stop applying like micro corrections, things will just start veering off course and deviate. And because the errors of that type, they accumulate over time, if you don't correct, it's just gonna like go all kinds of different ways, right? It's like just a natural bit rot. Code left alone turns worse. And you kind of have to be aware of all of these things. Like I am intimately aware of probably like 99% of everything on the project that I've worked on since day one. And some people just see what they see. They don't see the big picture. So whenever they start replicating some bad patterns, I can come in and it's like, we stopped doing that. The remnants are still there, but you're not supposed to replicate it, right? We kind of had that conversation many times. So I think that role is kind of permanent. And it's quite hands-on. It's not maybe, I don't know how much code you would write on a daily. I think what usually happens is again, I could be completely wrong about it. It's just how I see it, is that one of the OGs on a project that's been there the longest and knows the most about all of the quirks, like due to that fact that that's the person with most knowledge and most appreciation for it, probably kind of floats to the top of that hierarchy. And people are just happy to have someone there who knows all of those things. So he naturally becomes kind of a lead on a technical side of things, because his job is, preserving the vision and, prevent heresies and keep the direction clear. At least that's how I see it anyway. People may have entirely different opinion about what a job of a tech lead is, but this is how I see it. So, sue me.
Sometimes, I think it's the same. Like, so far, the way I've seen this role acted out, I think it pleases. It's just like, for me, most of the time, I don't spend a lot of time trying to evaluate what other people's roles are. However, now that I'm at this stage in my career where like I'm looking outside of like the box, to say, so to speak, like I'm learning new things about like other positions, other roles, what other people should expected from like other people. And now in the book that I was talking about, the manager's part, like there was a lot of like opinions about these roles, this kind of like what makes a good manager, like a tech lead, or how to actually use the role like your manager, like to get the best from your manager, something like this. And I think the author was talking, the name just keep my tongue now. The author was talking about one-on-ones and like how to use one-on-ones. And honestly, in my years of working as a dev, I've had like many one-on-ones. Sometimes I find it like a waste of time, like you're disturbing me. Like early in my career, it felt like this. Like I don't really have anything to say to you. I just want to continue working.
Yeah. So I guess like the first guy that I'm talking about, which was further back into my career, so I was more junior at the time, I don't think that we did one-on-ones per se. And then with the second guy, we did extensive one-on-ones. We had um, like, we were working out of this office complex, and we would go just on walks outside for like
Oh,
half an hour,
nice.
40 minutes at the time. We would just chat about stuff. I remember there was this good article. I'd have to find it and link it, but it was basically talking about one-on-ones, and the name was like a three-parter, and one of them was the vent, and I don't remember what the other two, like something something, and like the explosion. And it's just like gauging the state of people
Mm-hmm.
you're working as a manager, like gauging the state of where your people are. So it's like somebody comes in and vents about stuff. That's like a symptom of certain things. But, you know, like a one-on-one is kind of an early warning system about um, the things that are happening outside of work in people's lives that could potentially affect their work lives. I think that's probably one of the best things you can do. And you can all, like, in a lot of ways, they're not really supposed to be there to talk about work things. Like, if you want to talk about project priorities and task breakdowns and all these other things, just book a meeting for that specifically. Like, one-on-ones is not for that. Like, one-on-ones is not about them telling you whatever they haven't had a chance to tell you in a stand-up. That's a waste of time, right? It's supposed to be literally about pretty much anything else except work, so that whenever work stuff starts creeping into the one-on-one, you know that they have concerns. Because, like, when things were going, like, we had, crunch periods and more relaxed periods. So if in your one-on-one, maybe you do like one-on-one every couple of weeks, right? And in one-on-one, you talk about, the cool games for Nintendo and whatever movies people watch and like all these random kind of unrelated things. And then 2 weeks after, all of a sudden they start talking about like project priorities in their one-on-one. That's a clear signal that like something has changed, right? Because normally, if it's not like necessarily relaxed enough, but it's like it's smooth enough that they don't have to bring these things up in that time. Like, that time is not for that. So if they use it for that, that means like something is changing and you have to be on the lookout for it. And it's also a way to just learn people and have a more, you know, humanized vision of who this person is.
Mm.
I don't know if, again, we talked about it a bunch. It's like, is it a good thing or is it not a good thing? Hard to say. But, you still probably want to enjoy the people you're working with, and getting to know
Mm-hmm.
them a little bit kind of
Mm-hmm.
contributes to that.
Yeah. But how do you approach it then? I mean, I'm asking, and this is my actual question. Like, how do you approach like this one-on-one? Like I said in the earlier version, in the earlier part of my career, like I used to really feel very one-on-one. Now we have to go and just talk. There is usually like I don't even know what it was. It's just like I'm here now. Like what do we talk about? But as I as I've gotten like as I get more mature, like in my career, I'm starting to really value it, enjoy it, especially even more so these days because I find like the person I work with now as a manager, I find like he has a different way to do his job, which I really like and I really appreciate. He would say, like you said, like support. He would say like, "Oh yeah, I work for you guys, and it's not the other way around." So it makes it easy to feel to talk, you know. And you don't even, like you said, we don't even like have to talk about work. It's just life, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I open up that much to anybody
Right.
to talk about talk like that, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm finding value in it because, but how do you even like, should there be boundaries, first of all? And
Well,
what should you
obviously
talk
you don't
about?
want to overshare something. You'd rather not overshare. Um, and I think I should probably correct myself a little bit. When I say that it shouldn't be about work, it shouldn't be about work that is coming from the manager to the dev. I think it's okay if it's the other way around, because one-on-one is kind of also the opportunity for you to ask your manager for feedback and maybe ask for advice in terms of like career growth. Like you can use that time for these things. You don't have to, but if you're curious, I think that would be a good time, you know. Um, and in terms of things, I guess it really depends on the personality and the level. It's like how pissed off are you about things? Like, and I remember we had this one-on-one once when something was bothering me quite a bit, but it was like a touchy subject, and we basically like walked around for like 40 minutes. Um, that was actually a completely separate guy, separate manager. He was pretty good too. He didn't come to my mind right away because I think those two left quite a big impression. But he
Mhm.
was pretty good too, and we worked out of a different office, but it also was like an industrial park, so we like walked around the office complex with him. And I remember that something was bothering me, and we were walking around for probably like close to 40 minutes talking about all sorts of unrelated stuff when I finally kind of gathered enough courage and conviction to like broach the topic. And he thought that we were pretty much done, and then I kind of like just like, blah, here's this thing that's been bugging me all this time, right? After 40
Mhm.
minutes. And I mean, some conversations, even unrelated to work, like, you know, when I talk to my best friend about something that's happening in my life, right, that I kind of want to get his opinion on, it would take like an hour and a half of just shooting the shit about all sorts of random stuff before, again, I even get to a point where I'm kind of comfortable enough to like broach the topic. You're not just gonna like come in and like kick the door and be like, hey, here's the shit we're gonna talk about right now. Get ready, right? It's like you kind of
Yeah.
have to sort of synchronize to get on the same
Mm.
wavelengths and sort of
Hmm.
get to a
Okay.
stage where it that conversation can happen. It's not something necessarily that can happen the first thing, unless you're at that level where you're like ready to explode and you just have to say it. Otherwise, like you don't even give a shit anymore. But that's the thing, right? That's like if you're at that stage, all the opportunities to deal with that prior to have been missed, and that's not a good sign. Like that should have been caught way earlier before it get to the point of you like just like flipping the table and be like, screw you guys, I'm out of here, you know?
Is it weird? Do you? Hmm. How many times in a month do you ever feel like screw you guys, I'm out of here?
I think when I was younger, the impulse control was definitely not as good. I was never impulsive enough to do that. Like I would kind of ride the edge, like ride the tip of the wave, but never kind of keel over fully over it. A lot of times, and then I would kind of cool off and be like, okay, okay, we can still deal with it, right? But like it was like this close. Like if someone at that moment would have told me something to piss me off even more, it would have been like definitely. But I had a different method of coping with it.
Mhm.
I think I told you about it potentially. I think I even still have a photo somewhere. Shit, I have to find it because I took a picture on my cell phone, and so some 4 cell phones ago, in the backup of that cell phone's SD card, there's probably a photo that I took at my office. But we basically had this whiteboard in our cubicle, and you know how they have those like fundraising thermometers where they have like some
Mm.
value at the
Mhm.
top and then like they
Mhm.
fill it in as they collect the
Mhm.
money. So I had the same thing, only the thermometer was filling up with things that were pissing me off. And I'm like, as soon as I fill this thermometer to the top, I quit.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah, and that's what I did. And basically, that's what I did. Like all the things that I thought were not going in the right direction or were done wrong or were just pissing me off for whatever reason. Like, I don't pretend that they were entirely objective, but it was a way for me to kind of keep track of my dissatisfaction, and ultimately I gave myself a cutoff and be like, if it reaches this stage, that means that it's not a good place for me to be and I'm out. And I have to say that there were some things where I had to like erase a bunch of it because they did something that was like, okay, well, I see that, now you're doing something that I consider to be the right thing to do. So the overall level kind of went down. And yeah,
Well, that's I didn't.
because sorry, before you reply, the certain places teach us that the things can get progressively worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, and people will do nothing about it. They just get used to the shitty part, and then it gets even shittier, and then they get used to that, and then it gets even shittier, and they get used to that. And a lot of people look at it from outside and is like, how come they don't just like revolt and rebel and do something about it? Yeah, good question. But if you, it kind of went in a completely different direction. But if you feel like you're on a kind of a downward spiral, give yourself a clear cutoff and be like, that's the red line. Like once we hit this, I'm out, regardless. And then, be a man to follow through with it. Because if you
I
don't,
mean,
you're done, basically.
no. So the reason why I asked you this question was because I mean about like how many times do you feel like screw this shit about? It's because I'm just wondering like, do you ever have this feeling with like maybe coworkers or like um someone around or something like this, and you just like consistently feel this way, and then but you can't really yell at them because you didn't employ them, and you cannot really make your feelings known too because there is a you can't really vent about it to in your one-on-ones because if you do
Well, if I
too
mean,
much
if
stuff.
somebody's giving you grief, like I remember
Oh.
working with this person who was just consistently giving me grief about all sorts of different things, and not just me, like everybody. And I remember that I would bring that up in our one-on-ones, and the manager was basically defending him, the other person. And it would like bring some reasons, and I'm like, yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. But like the problem with these things, and again, we kind of veered off course of the initial point, but the problem with these things is that it's such a it's such an iterative process that it's really hard to notice the difference when you're on the inside. It's like, whenever you see your cousins, you're like, holy shit, that kid has grown a lot. But to their parents, they don't notice it because the kid grows like a tiny little bit every day. But you
Mm-hmm.
see them like
Mm-hmm.
once every like 6 months. You like, it was like it went from here to here. Like, wow, that's quite a drastic change. But when you're in it, it's such a tiny, 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 tiny little thing that you
Mm-hmm.
might not even notice. And and it's kind of weird because again, I'm not even talking about work anymore. It's just overall. Like I remember being in a situation where it was a miserable situation, and people from the outside were telling me like, dude, you're in a really miserable situation. I'm like, you'll be fine. Like I could not even see it being in it. Like I could not see it. And then afterwards, after somehow I managed to get out of it, I look back and I was like, holy shit, man, I should have been out of there years ago. Like, what the hell was I thinking? So it's a really tough thing to even understand, you know? I think it also has like these parallels with burnout, is that you don't notice it while you're like way in it. And then looking back, you're like, oh shit, all the symptoms were there. I just did not pay attention to them. So, there's a lot of similarities, I feel.
I agree. You know what? I agree. But I feel maybe times change or like well, I agree with like, finding like the breaking point and then knowing how much of it you can actually like take. But I'm thinking about like how much of it do you get to discuss before you decide to make like I mean you have the opportunity to discuss with someone like maybe like your manager or like someone or something like how much of it do you get to discuss
I
and
think that
should you
you're,
even discuss?
yeah, I think you kind of have to taper it in. Like, you're not gonna go, you know, you're not gonna open up your hand straight up with the aces, with like the highest card that you've got, right? It's like, no, you start with the smaller one, and because effectively you're probing to, you know, like, you can't just dump the whole thing. And again, like, if you have this massive thing to dump on somebody, that means that this problem has been stewing long enough that, like, it's already in like a critical stage, right? Like, ideally, you want to sort these issues as they come in, not like marinate in them for 6 months and then explode. Like, that's not a good strategy. But again, it's really difficult to see, especially like if you're responsible and conscientious. There's really no limit to how much bullshit you can bear if you think that you are doing it for the right reasons. Like, that's kind of a trap for that personality type. Like, if you can justify to a person like why their existence is shitty and they're supposed to be there, if you can rationalize it to them, they'll agree, and they'll just keep getting in a shittier and shittier situation and think themselves virtuous for doing it. It's a vicious circle in a lot of ways. And considering engineering to have that state of mind, you are more likely to be kind of conscientious and disciplined and responsible. It's no wonder that people can arrive at a very, very poor states of mind and not even notice that that's happening.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and that's a,
I mean,
that's a
I'm
big problem.
not a psychologist. I can't claim ultimate validity. Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. But all of these
Yeah,
things that I've been talking about were kind of from my personal experience, so I
yeah,
can I can talk about that. But I
fair enough.
think I think that would resonate for a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah, it's a lot of conversation today. Deep ones too. Look at us. We're talking about life, talking about
See, I told you we were gonna sort this thing once and for all.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, I have more to talk about, but I'll keep it for the next for our next meeting.
Yeah,
And I recommend the book to you too. Like I was also reading like this software, this staff engineer guide. Do you know the book?
I know the
I'm gonna
Stuff Engineer's
the soft
Path by Tanya
yeah,
Riley
yeah.
or
Oh no,
something like
sorry,
that.
I mixed them
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
It's the software engineer's guidebook.
I haven't seen that one though.
Um, George Lee Oroz.
Well, send
Oroz.
me like a link to it. I'll check it out.
Okay. And yeah, so I'll send you both the manager's part too. I mean, I was thinking mostly about you when I was reading this book. I was like, well, this would be something that might interest Vasili.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna hook you up.
yeah.
So
The official Vasili's Office Hours book club is starting now.
yeah. So thank you, Vasili, for your time today again. Yeah, I always appreciate this. Good
Thanks, Mo.
conversations every
It
time.
was a very interesting topic to delve into, and I think there's a bunch left sort of unsaid. So we'll
Hmm.
see if we remember to
Yeah.
continue on with it. Uh, and it kind of got a little bit heavier closer to the end. And I think that's exactly the thing. Like, even if we started again next time, it might need to take some time to get to more heavier things, right? So it's like, by the
Yeah,
time you're
but
ready to talk about serious shit, you're done, right? Yeah.
we'll find a way. We'll
We
find
should
a way.
just do
I'm gonna.
I don't know if you've seen, but like Lex Fridman did a podcast with Primogen, and it's like 5 hours long.
We could do that. We could
Five
do that
hours.
maybe one time.
It's gonna
Um,
be quite. Well, damn, I can get people to watch the 40-minute ones, let alone 5 hours.
maybe the 5 hours will be the one that they want to see because then we
Eh,
actually have all the
it's
good ones.
possible. It's possible. But yeah, check it out. I watched the entire thing. Most of it I kind of watched in the background, but they covered a whole lot of really deep and heavy topics in there, so it was pretty good. So
Tech stuff or like life stuff?
life, tech, a lot of life, a lot of like dark and gritty parts of life. So you know,
Yeah,
it's
send it to
uh,
me, please. Yeah,
it's quite
please
impressive
put me
for
on.
for for both of them to be putting themselves out there like that. So mad props for
Interesting.
that.
Please put me on.
Yeah, yeah. Well, for everyone that's still with us, what do you think? Do you think one-on-ones are productive, and do you think product managers are a waste of time? Sorry,
I didn't
product
say it.
owners. He didn't say it.
I
I
didn't
did.
say it.
Disavow, disavow. All right. We'll see you in the next one. Have a great
All
day.
right.
Bye.
Bye.